Welcome back to the channel, Valuable Coins HD, friends and coin enthusiasts. Today, we're diving into the fascinating story of a coin that millions of Americans carried in their pockets, but only a few lucky people know its true hidden potential. We're talking about the Jefferson nickel from 1964 with its mint mark. At first, this little 5-cent piece might look completely ordinary. But don't be fooled. Some examples of this coin have become legendary treasures in the world of coin collecting. Let's begin with a little background. The Jefferson nickel was introduced in 1938, replacing the Buffalo nickel. The U.S. Mint held a design competition, and the winning entry came from Felix Schlag. His design featured the proud portrait of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse, and his beautiful home, Monticello, on the reverse. The coin was meant to honor Jefferson's legacy as a founding father, a president, and the author of the Declaration of Independence. Over the years, the design has undergone some small changes, but in 1964 it still carried the classic Schlag design. Now, why is the year 1964 so special for Jefferson nickels? For one, it marked the final year before the U.S. Mint stopped placing mint marks on coins for a time. Starting in 1965, mint marks were temporarily removed as part of the Mint's response to a nationwide coin shortage. That means 1964 was the last year of the traditional nickel design before a historic shift in American coinage. This makes the 1964 nickels especially important to collectors who are passionate about U.S. history. Another key detail: the sheer number of 1,964 nickels struck. The Mint produced an enormous quantity that year, billions, in fact. They came out of Philadelphia with no mint mark, and out of Denver with the D mint mark. Because of this massive production, most people think the 1964 nickel is common and worth nothing more than 5 cents. And for the average worn example, that's true. But as collectors know, rarity is not just about mintage numbers. It's about condition, special varieties, and unique errors. Let's talk about varieties. One of the most famous is the 1964 full steps Jefferson nickel. What does that mean? On the reverse side of the coin, Monticello is shown with a staircase at the front entrance. In most coins, those steps are weakly struck, blurry, or incomplete. But in rare cases, the coin was struck so sharply and perfectly that all of the steps are visible, clean, and distinct. This is known as the full steps variety, and collectors pay enormous premiums for these coins because they are so difficult to find. Errors are another reason the 1964 nickel can be special. Some coins were struck slightly off-center, some were produced on improperly prepared planchets, and a few rare examples even have double dies where letters or numbers appear doubled. Each of these errors makes the coin stand out as unique. No two error coins are exactly the same. And when you add rarity to uniqueness, you end up with something that collectors are willing to fight over in auctions, but condition is perhaps the most important factor of all. The truth is, most 1,964 nickels spent decades in circulation. They passed through countless hands, vending machines, parking meters, and cash registers. As a result, they're scratched, dull, and worn out. Finding one in pristine, uncirculated condition, still shining with its original mint luster, is like striking gold. And when that coin also has the full steps variety or a rare minting error, its value skyrockets. Another fascinating point about the 1964 nickel is its place in American culture. Remember, this was the height of the 1960s, an era of civil rights movements, political changes, and cultural revolutions. Every coin minted in that year is not just a piece of metal, it's a snapshot of the United States in a time of great transformation. Holding a 1964 nickel today connects us directly to that history. So, what does all of this mean for collectors and treasure hunters today? It means that the Jefferson nickel of 1964, while common at first glance, holds the potential to be one of the most rewarding discoveries in your pocket change or coin collection. And among the most exceptional examples, the value can be nothing short of astonishing. That brings us to the highlight of today's story. While most 1964 Jefferson nickels are worth just face value, the rarest, highest graded, and most perfect examples with mint marks have reached unbelievable prices at auction. In fact, One of these coins has been valued at an incredible $71,000, yes, $71,000, for a nickel that was originally worth only 5 cents. Just imagine, a coin that could have been spent on a cup of coffee in 1964 could today be worth more than a brand new car or even a down payment on a house. That's the magic of coin collecting, the thrill of discovery and the possibility that history, rarity, and condition can transform an ordinary coin into a life-changing treasure. Today, we're diving into one of the most fascinating coins that many people overlook, but that hides an incredible story and unbelievable value. I'm talking about the Jefferson nickel from 1972 with its mint mark. At first glance, it's just a simple 5-cent coin, the kind you'd expect to find mixed in with loose change in a drawer, or maybe forgotten in an old jar of coins. But some examples of this very nickel are worth far more than their face value, and in some rare cases, they've been sold for sums that will leave you speechless. Let's start with a bit of background. The Jefferson nickel has been a part of American coinage since 1938. It replaced the iconic Buffalo nickel, and its design came from artist Felix Schlag. On the obverse, you see the portrait of Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States, author of the Declaration of Independence, and one of the greatest figures in American history. On the reverse side, there's Monticello, Jefferson's Virginia home. For decades, this design remained largely unchanged, and by 1972 it was still the coin that millions of Americans carried every single day. Now, what makes the year 1972 so interesting for Jefferson nickels? Well, by the early 1970s, the mint was producing billions of coins to keep up with America's growing population and economy. In 1972, the Jefferson nickel was struck at different mints, including Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Depending on where it was made, you'll see different mint marks, like the D for Denver or the S for San Francisco. These mint marks are incredibly important, because they help collectors identify exactly where a coin came from and sometimes reveal rare varieties that can dramatically increase a coin's value. Most people think all 1972 nickels are the same, but collectors know better. Small differences in minting can turn an ordinary 5-cent coin into something extraordinary. For example, some nickels from 1972 are known to have striking errors. These can include off-center strikes, where part of the design is missing, or double-die varieties, where the lettering or numbers look doubled under close inspection. These types of errors make a coin rare and unique, and collectors love them because no two error coins are exactly alike, but it's not just errors that matter. Condition is absolutely crucial. The majority of 1972 nickels that you'll find today are worn out. They've been used in countless transactions over the decades, showing scratches, dings, and dull finishes. But in the world of coin collecting, the most valuable pieces are those that have survived in pristine, uncirculated condition. Coins with their original shine, sharp details, and no signs of wear are the ones that make collectors' hearts race. And if you find one of these in high grade, especially with a clear and strong strike, you may just be holding a treasure. There's another detail that makes Jefferson nickels so fascinating to collectors: the full steps designation. On the reverse side of the coin, Monticello is shown with a staircase at the entrance. In most coins, those steps are not clearly struck, they appear worn or faint even when the coin is new. But in rare cases, the steps are fully visible and sharply defined. This full steps variety is incredibly difficult to find, and collectors are willing to pay huge premiums for it. A 1972 Jefferson nickel with full steps and in high condition is an absolute prize. The beauty of coins like this is that they connect us to history. Think about 1972, this was the time of the Apollo missions, the Cold War, and great changes in American culture. Every coin minted during this year carries a piece of that history with it. When you hold a Jefferson nickel from 1972, you're not just holding metal, you're holding a little piece of the story of America in that moment. Now, let's talk about the big question: value. While most 1972 Jefferson nickels will only be worth their face value of 5 cents, the rarest examples, those with mint marks, those with full steps, those in pristine condition, or those with remarkable minting errors, can be worth a fortune. In fact, some have sold for jaw-dropping prices that most people would never believe possible for a nickel. and here's the most incredible part. One of these 1972 Jefferson nickels, with a mint mark and in extraordinary condition, has been valued at a staggering $76,000, yes, $76,000. For a 5-cent coin that many people would overlook without a second thought. That's the magic of coin collecting. What seems small and ordinary at first can turn out to be something truly life-changing if you know what to look for. So the next time you come across a Jefferson nickel from 1972, don't ignore it. Take a closer look, check the mint mark, study the details, and see if you might be holding a hidden treasure. Today, we are going to dive into the fascinating world of one of America's most iconic coins, the Jefferson nickel. And our spotlight will be shining on the 1973 Jefferson nickel with its mint mark, a coin that might look ordinary to most people but could actually be hiding a story of rarity, history, and shocking value. At first glance, a 1973 Jefferson nickel might seem like nothing special. It's just a 5-cent coin, right? Something you'd toss in your pocket, spend at the corner store, or maybe drop in a vending machine without even thinking twice. But collectors know that some coins just like this, are worth far more than what's stamped on their face. In fact, the Jefferson nickel from 1973 is one of those hidden treasures, and today, we're going to uncover why. Let's rewind the clock. The Jefferson nickel has been part of American coinage since 1938, replacing the beloved Buffalo nickel. Designed by artist Felix Schlag, the coin features a portrait of Thomas Jefferson, the nation's third president and one of its most important founding fathers. Flip the coin, and you'll see Monticello, Jefferson's elegant Virginia estate, which still stands as a monument to his legacy. By the time we reached 1973, the Jefferson nickel design had been in use for more than 3 decades, and millions upon millions were in circulation. But here's where it gets interesting. While the majority of 1973 nickels are common, there are certain varieties, mint marks, and conditions that set some apart from the rest. These little differences can turn a regular coin worth 5 cents into a collector's dream worth thousands, or even tens of thousands, of dollars. Now, the mint mark is the first key detail to look for. In 1973, Jefferson nickels were struck at different mints, including Denver and San Francisco, each leaving their unique mark. A tiny letter near Jefferson's portrait can completely change the rarity of the coin. The D for Denver, the S for San Francisco, these may seem like small details, but in the world of coin collecting, they are everything. Some mint mark varieties are harder to find, and when paired with exceptional condition, they can become incredibly valuable. Speaking of condition, this is perhaps the most crucial factor. The majority of 1973 nickels out there today are heavily circulated. They've been passed from hand to hand, showing scratches, worn-out details, and dull finishes. But the ones that make collectors' hearts race are those that remain in uncirculated or near-perfect condition. These coins, often carefully preserved, still shine with their original luster and sharp details, making them highly desirable. But let's not forget about special designations like the famous full steps. On the reverse side of the Jefferson nickel, Monticello is engraved with a staircase at the entrance. In most coins, those steps are barely visible or appear worn even from the start. But in rare cases, the steps are struck so perfectly that they're fully detailed and clearly separated. Collectors call this the full steps variety, and it's one of the hardest and most sought-after traits to find on a Jefferson nickel. A 1973 nickel with full steps in high grade is a true gem. Errors are another exciting aspect that makes 1973 Jefferson nickels unique. Minting errors can include things like double dies, where the letters or numbers appear doubled, off-center strikes, where part of the design is missing, or even planchet errors, where the coin was struck on the wrong type of blank. These unusual mistakes create one-of-a-kind coins that collectors are willing to pay top dollar for. Since no two error coins are exactly alike, what makes coins like the 1973 nickel so thrilling is that they connect us to everyday history. Think about it, this small coin may have been in someone's pocket during the early 1970s, a time of cultural shifts, new music, political change, and incredible moments in American life. Each coin is a piece of history, a small artifact of the past that still has a story to tell. And now we come to the part you've all been waiting for, the value. While the average 1973 Jefferson nickel might only be worth its face value of 5 cents, the rarest examples, those with special mint marks, pristine condition, full steps details, or remarkable minting errors, can be worth far, far more. In fact, one Jefferson nickel from 1973 with a mint mark, preserved in extraordinary condition, has been valued at an astounding $80,000, yes, $80,000, for a coin that most people wouldn't look twice at. That's the incredible world of coin collecting. Today, we are focusing on a coin that you've probably seen countless times in circulation, the Jefferson nickel. But we're not just talking about any nickel. Our spotlight today is on the Jefferson nickel from 1987 with its mint mark, a small piece of American change that could actually hold extraordinary value. Now, when most people think about nickels, they don't imagine anything special. It's a coin worth just 5 cents, something that rattles around in your pocket, gets tossed into a piggy bank, or dropped into a vending machine. But that's exactly what makes coin collecting so fascinating, because hidden among those everyday coins are rare treasures worth thousands, sometimes tens of thousands, of dollars. And the 1987 Jefferson nickel is one of those coins that carries a story much deeper than its face value suggests. Let's start with a bit of history. The Jefferson nickel was first introduced in 1938, replacing the beloved Buffalo nickel. Designed by artist Felix Schlag, it proudly features Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States, on the obverse. Jefferson was more than just a president, he was the principal author of the Declaration of Independence, a visionary leader, and a figure who helped shape the foundation of America. Flip the coin over and you'll see Monticello, Jefferson's elegant Virginia estate, which symbolizes his lasting legacy. By 1987, the Jefferson nickel had already been in production for nearly 50 years. That year, the U.S. Mint produced nickels at different locations, including Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Each mint left its tiny signature, the mint mark, on the coin. And while that small letter might seem insignificant, it's one of the most important details collectors look for. Depending on the mint, some 1987 nickels are scarcer than others, and when combined with certain conditions or varieties, they can become incredibly valuable. Now, you might ask, what exactly makes some 1987 nickels so special? Well, the first factor is condition. The majority of these nickels went straight into circulation. They were used in shops, banks, and gas stations, passed from hand to hand, and most have the scratches, dings, and wear to prove it. Coins in average condition are common and usually only worth their face value. But the real treasures are the nickels that were carefully preserved, never spent, and kept in pristine, uncirculated condition. These coins retain their original shine, crisp details, and are highly sought after by collectors. And then, we have to talk about the full steps variety. If you look closely at Monticello on the reverse side of the coin, you'll notice the staircase leading up to the entrance. On most nickels, the steps are weakly struck and blurry, even from the day they left the mint. But in rare cases, the steps are fully defined and perfectly visible. Collectors call this the full steps designation, and it's one of the most desirable qualities you can find in a Jefferson nickel. A 1987 nickel with full steps, preserved in gem condition, can be worth a fortune, but that's not all. Some nickels from 1987 also contain fascinating minting errors. These could include double die strikes, where the date or letters appear doubled, off-center strikes, where the design is shifted, or even planchet errors, where the coin was struck on the wrong type of metal blank. Error coins are like fingerprints, unique and one of a kind. No two are ever exactly the same, which makes them especially appealing to collectors who crave rarity. What's truly amazing is that these details are often overlooked by the casual eye. Most people wouldn't notice the difference between a regular nickel and one with sharp steps, or one with a subtle doubling in the lettering. But for those who know what to look for, those tiny differences can mean the difference between 5 cents and thousands of dollars. Think about it, 1987 wasn't all that long ago in the grand scheme of history. Many of us may still remember the late 1980s clearly. It was a time of changing technology, cultural shifts, and political transitions. Holding on to a 1987 Jefferson nickel isn't just about owning a coin, it's about holding a tangible piece of that era. Coins like these connect us to the everyday lives of people from decades past while offering the potential for incredible financial value in the present, and that brings us to the most exciting part, the value. While the average 1987 Jefferson nickel is still only worth its face value of 5 cents, rare examples in top condition, with full steps or unusual minting errors, have shocked collectors with their selling prices. In fact, one of the rarest 1987 Jefferson nickels with a mint mark and preserved in extraordinary condition has been valued at an astounding $85,000, yes, $85,000 for a single 5-cent coin. That's the magic of coin collecting, the thrill of the hunt, the beauty of history, and the possibility that something so small and ordinary could turn out to be a life-changing treasure. Today, we are diving into one of the most fascinating coins in American history, a coin that millions of people carried in their pockets without realizing it could be worth far more than its 5-cent face value. Yes, we're talking about the Jefferson nickel, and more specifically, the Jefferson nickel from 1990 with its mint mark. At first glance, the Jefferson nickel may look like just another everyday coin. After all, most of us have handled hundreds, maybe thousands of them, without giving them much thought. But coin collecting teaches us that looks can be deceiving. Within the familiar design of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse and Monticello on the reverse lies a world of hidden value and collectible mystery. And in the case of the 1990 nickel, that hidden value can be astonishing. To appreciate this coin fully, let's step back in time. The Jefferson nickel was introduced in 1938, replacing the Buffalo nickel, and it has remained a cornerstone of U.S. coinage ever since. Designed by Felix Schlag, the coin was meant to celebrate Jefferson's contributions to the nation and highlight his architectural masterpiece, Monticello. For decades, this design has been a symbol of tradition, continuity, and American history carried in every pocket. By the year 1990, the United States Mint had already struck billions of Jefferson nickels, but that year held some intriguing surprises for collectors. Nickels were produced at different mints, most notably Philadelphia and Denver, each leaving its mint mark, a small but crucial detail, on the coin. This mint mark, often overlooked by casual eyes, is one of the first things collectors study because it can drastically affect rarity, demand, and value. Now, what makes certain 1990 nickels so desirable? The first factor is condition. Coins that circulated heavily often have scratches, dull surfaces, and loss of detail. These are worth no more than their face value. But if a coin has survived in pristine, uncirculated condition, with sharp details and original mint luster, it instantly stands out. Collectors prize these coins because they represent the very best examples of the year. Then there's something called the full steps designation. On the reverse of the Jefferson nickel, the steps of Monticello are notoriously difficult to strike perfectly. Most nickels show weak or blurry steps. But a small number were struck so cleanly that all the steps are crisp and fully defined. These full steps nickels are highly coveted because they are much rarer and dramatically more valuable. Beyond condition and strike quality, there's the fascinating world of mint errors. During the production of millions of coins, mistakes sometimes happen, planchets misfeed, dies crack, or designs strike off-center. A 1990 Jefferson nickel with a dramatic error could be unique, making it one of a kind and extremely appealing to collectors. Double dies, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, these are the kinds of errors that can transform an ordinary coin into a numismatic treasure. But why should anyone care about a nickel from 1990? Because coins are more than metal, they are time capsules. Holding a 1990 nickel is like holding a piece of history from an era when the Cold War was ending, technology was advancing rapidly, and the world was stepping into a new decade. Each coin connects us not only to economic transactions but also to the cultural and historical backdrop of its time. Now, imagine this, millions of people spent these nickels without ever knowing that some of them were worth far more than just 5 cents. They dropped them into parking meters, handed them to cashiers, and used them for bus fares. Yet today, a carefully preserved Jefferson nickel from 1990 with just the right characteristics can make headlines among collectors. The hunt for these rare gems is what excites the coin collecting community. It's about more than money, it's about the thrill of discovering something extraordinary hidden in plain sight. Collectors search coin rolls, attend auctions, and study every detail of their nickels under magnifying glasses, hoping to uncover that one coin that will change everything. And now, the question you've been waiting for: what is the value? While ordinary 1990 Jefferson nickels are worth only 5 cents, the rarest examples, those with flawless condition, full steps detail, or unique minting errors, have achieved jaw-dropping results at auctions. One particularly rare specimen, preserved in remarkable state, has been valued at an incredible $94,000. Yes, $94,000 for a nickel. It's hard to believe, but that is the world of coin collecting. A simple coin you might overlook in your spare change could actually be worth a fortune. That's why every coin deserves a closer look, because you never know what treasure you might be holding. So, the next time you come across a Jefferson nickel from 1990, don't dismiss it as just another coin. Check the mint mark, examine the condition, and take a good look at those steps on Monticello. You just might be holding something rare, something valuable, and something that connects you to both history and wealth in a way you never expected. Thank you so much for watching today's deep dive into the Jefferson nickel. If you enjoyed this journey into the fascinating world of coins, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel for more amazing stories of rare currency, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss the next discovery. Until then, happy collecting, and may your next nickel be the treasure of a lifetime.